Simon Peter, also called Cephas, was originally a fisherman from Bethsaida on the northern shore of the Sea of Galilee. He worked alongside his brother Andrew before being called by Jesus to become one of his first disciples. The name Peter, meaning rock, was given to him by Jesus to signify the steadfast role he would later play in building the early church. Peter quickly became the most prominent among the 12. He witnessed major events in Jesus' ministry, including the Transfiguration, the raising of Jairus' daughter, and several miracles. Despite his closeness to Jesus, Peter displayed moments of weakness, most notably when he denied knowing Jesus 3 times during the night of the arrest. After the resurrection, according to the Gospel of John, Jesus restored him through 3 affirmations of love, commissioning him to feed my sheep. Following Pentecost, Peter emerged as the leading figure in the early Christian community. He preached publicly in Jerusalem, healed the sick, and was repeatedly imprisoned for his faith. Early church tradition holds that Peter later traveled to Antioch and Rome, where he continued his ministry. Under Emperor Nero's persecution around 64 AD, Peter was arrested and sentenced to death by crucifixion. Out of humility, he requested to be crucified upside down, believing himself unworthy to die in the same way as Jesus. His burial site is traditionally believed to lie beneath St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City. Andrew, the first called. Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, was born in Bethsaida, a fishing village on the Sea of Galilee. Before meeting Jesus, he was a disciple of John the Baptist. According to the Gospel of John, Andrew was the first of the 12 to follow Jesus after hearing John the Baptist declare, "Behold, the Lamb of God." He then introduced his brother Peter to Christ, earning him the title, the first called. Throughout Jesus' ministry, Andrew was portrayed as thoughtful and practical. He brought individuals to Jesus, including the boy with the loaves and fishes at the feeding of the 5,000. Although he was not part of Jesus' closest inner circle, made up of Peter, James, and John, Andrew remained a key and loyal disciple throughout the Gospels. After the resurrection, Andrew devoted himself to spreading Christianity beyond Judea. Early traditions record that he preached in Asia Minor, Scythia, modern-day Ukraine and southern Russia, and later in Greece. He is believed to have founded several Christian communities along his travels. According to multiple early sources, Andrew was martyred in the Greek city of Patras around 60 AD. He was crucified on an X-shaped cross, which became known as St. Andrew's Cross, after requesting a form of crucifixion different from that of Jesus. His relics were later moved to Constantinople by Emperor Constantius II in the 4th century, and eventually to Amalfi, Italy, where they remain venerated today. James, son of Zebedee, was one of the earliest disciples called by Jesus, and the brother of the Apostle John. He worked as a fisherman on the Sea of Galilee before leaving everything behind to follow Christ. Together, the brothers were nicknamed Boanerges, meaning sons of thunder, a reflection of their zeal and strong personalities. James belonged to Jesus' closest inner circle, along with Peter and John. He was present at several key moments in the New Testament, including the raising of Jairus' daughter, the Transfiguration on Mount Tabor, and the agony in the Garden of Gethsemane. His prominent position among the apostles made him one of the main witnesses of Christ's miracles and teachings. After the resurrection, James continued to preach in Jerusalem. His growing influence drew the attention of King Herod Agrippa I, who sought to suppress the expanding Christian movement. According to the Book of Acts, Acts 12, 1-2, James was arrested and executed by the sword around 44 AD, becoming the first of the apostles to be martyred. Early Christian tradition later associated him with missionary activity in Hispania, modern-day Spain, although historical evidence is limited. His relics are said to have been brought to Galicia, where they are believed to rest at Santiago de Compostela, a major pilgrimage site known as El Camino de Santiago. James's martyrdom marked the beginning of widespread persecution against the early church. John, son of Zebedee and brother of James the Greater, was among the first disciples called by Jesus. Like his brother, he was a fisherman from the Sea of Galilee. John became one of Jesus's closest companions and was part of the inner circle along with Peter and James. He witnessed several key moments of Christ's ministry, including the Transfiguration, the raising of Jairus' daughter, and the agony in Gethsemane. According to the Gospel accounts, John was the only apostle who remained at the foot of the cross during the crucifixion, where Jesus entrusted him with the care of his mother, Mary. After the resurrection, John became a leading figure in the early Christian church. He preached extensively in Jerusalem and later in Ephesus, in Asia Minor, modern-day Turkey. Church tradition attributes several New Testament writings to him: the Gospel of John, 3 epistles of John, and the Book of Revelation. During Emperor Domitian's reign, John was reportedly exiled to the island of Patmos, where he wrote the Book of Revelation. He later returned to Ephesus, where he continued to teach until his death. Unlike most apostles, John was not martyred, but is believed to have died of natural causes around 98 AD, making him the last surviving apostle. Philip. Philip was one of the first disciples personally called by Jesus, as recorded in the Gospel of John. He came from Bethsaida, the same fishing village as Peter and Andrew, and likely shared a similar background as a tradesman. Philip is best known for his role as an intermediary, introducing others to Christ. He was the one who brought Nathanael, Bartholomew, to Jesus, saying, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law." Throughout the Gospels, Philip appears several times in moments of questioning and instruction. He asked Jesus how the large crowd would be fed before the miracle of the loaves and fishes, and later requested, "Lord, show us the Father," prompting Jesus' response, "Whoever has seen me has seen the Father." These accounts highlight Philip's inquisitive nature and his desire to understand divine truth. After the resurrection, early Christian tradition holds that Philip traveled to Asia Minor, particularly to the region of Phrygia in modern-day Turkey. He preached in several cities, including Hierapolis, where he performed miracles and converted many to Christianity. His success, however, angered the local authorities and pagan priests. According to tradition, Philip was arrested and executed in Hierapolis around AD 80. Some sources state that he was crucified upside down, while others claim he was stoned to death. His tomb, discovered in modern excavations in Hierapolis, is widely venerated as his burial site. Bartholomew, often identified with Nathanael, mentioned in the Gospel of John, was one of the 12 apostles. His name, Bartholomew, means son of Ptolemy. The Gospels describe his first encounter with Jesus through Philip, who told him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about." Initially skeptical, Bartholomew asked, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" When Jesus saw him, he declared, "Here is a true Israelite, in whom there is no deceit," revealing divine knowledge of him. This moment convinced Nathanael that Jesus was the Son of God. After the resurrection, early Christian sources state that Bartholomew carried the gospel to remote regions. He reportedly preached in Asia Minor, Mesopotamia, and especially in Armenia and India. Eusebius of Caesarea wrote that Bartholomew left a copy of the Gospel of Matthew in Hebrew in India, suggesting a wide missionary reach across the Eastern world. Tradition records that Bartholomew's preaching led to many conversions, including members of royal families. However, this success provoked strong opposition from local pagan priests. In Armenia, he was condemned to death in one of the most brutal martyrdoms recorded in Christian history. He was flayed alive and then beheaded. His relics were later moved to various locations, including the island of Lipari, and eventually to the Church of St. Bartholomew on Tiber Island in Rome. He is venerated as the patron saint of Armenia and of those who suffer for their faith. Thomas, Didymus. Thomas, also called Didymus, meaning twin, is best known from the Gospels for his moment of doubt following Jesus' resurrection. When told by the other disciples that Christ had risen, he replied that he would not believe unless he saw and touched the wounds himself. A week later, Jesus appeared and invited Thomas to do so, prompting his declaration, "My Lord and my God." This encounter became one of the defining moments of faith in the New Testament, transforming skepticism into conviction. After Pentecost, Thomas embarked on missionary journeys that took him farther than any other apostle. According to early Christian traditions, he first preached in Mesopotamia and Persia before traveling to the Indian subcontinent. His mission established several Christian communities along the Malabar coast in what is now the state of Kerala. These believers are known today as the St. Thomas Christians. His success led to opposition from local religious authorities. Tradition holds that while praying in a cave near Mylapore, modern Chennai, he was attacked by soldiers and pierced with spears, dying around 72 AD. His tomb became a revered pilgrimage site, and the Santom Basilica in Chennai now stands where he is believed to be buried. His life reflects the journey from doubt to faith, and his missionary work marks the earliest recorded spread of Christianity to India. Matthew, also called Levi, was a tax collector in Capernaum before being called by Jesus to follow him. Tax collectors were despised among Jews for collaborating with Roman authorities and profiting from their position. Yet Jesus chose Matthew to demonstrate that redemption was open to all. In response, Matthew left his post immediately and hosted a meal for Jesus and other tax collectors, symbolizing his transformation from public sinner to disciple. Matthew was one of the 12 apostles who witnessed Christ's ministry, death, and resurrection. Early church tradition attributes to him the authorship of the Gospel of Matthew, written primarily for a Jewish audience to show that Jesus fulfilled Old Testament prophecies as the promised Messiah. His writings emphasize Jesus' teachings on faith, mercy, and the kingdom of heaven. After the resurrection, Matthew is believed to have preached the gospel in Judea before traveling abroad. Ancient traditions place his later missionary work in Ethiopia and possibly in regions around Persia and Parthia. According to the martyrdom of St. Matthew, he was killed while celebrating Mass, stabbed by soldiers sent by a local ruler, angered by his growing influence. His relics were said to have been moved to Salerno, Italy, where they remain venerated. Matthew is honored as the patron saint of accountants, bankers, and tax collectors, remembered for his conversion and faithful witness to Christ. James, son of Alphaeus, is one of the least documented of the 12 apostles. The Gospels mention him only in the lists of the apostles, giving no direct record of his actions or words. Because of this scarcity of detail, he is sometimes referred to as James the Less, to distinguish him from James, son of Zebedee. Early Christian writers often identified him with James the Just, the leader of the Jerusalem church and the author of the Epistle of James, though this remains uncertain. What is known is that he was a devoted follower of Christ and one of the early pillars of the Christian community in Jerusalem after the resurrection. According to tradition, James remained in Jerusalem while other apostles journeyed abroad. His leadership placed him in direct conflict with the Jewish religious authorities, who saw the growing Christian movement as a threat. Ancient accounts, particularly those of Hegesippus and later Eusebius, describe that James was brought before the Sanhedrin and commanded to renounce his faith in Jesus. When he refused, he was taken to the pinnacle of the temple and thrown down. Still alive after the fall, he prayed for his persecutors until a bystander struck him on the head with a club, killing him. James's martyrdom, believed to have occurred around 62 AD, made him one of the earliest leaders of the Church to die for his faith.
Jude, Thaddeus, or Lebbaeus, was one of the 12 apostles and is sometimes referred to as Jude of James in the Gospel lists. He is not to be confused with Judas Iscariot, the betrayer of Jesus. The name Thaddeus likely served as a distinguishing title, meaning courageous heart. Little is recorded about Jude's early life, but the New Testament attributes to him the Epistle of Jude, a short letter addressing false teachings and urging believers to remain steadfast in their faith. In it, Jude emphasizes perseverance, moral integrity, and the need to defend the truth, reflecting the same resolve seen in his missionary life. After Pentecost, Jude is believed to have preached first in Judea and Samaria before traveling to Mesopotamia, Syria, and eventually Persia, modern-day Iran. There he worked alongside Simon the Zealot, spreading Christianity among pagan populations. Their success reportedly provoked hostility from local religious leaders. According to early church tradition, Jude was martyred in the city of Susa around 65 AD. He was beaten to death with a club, while Simon was executed nearby. Their remains were later brought to Rome and enshrined together in St. Peter's Basilica, where they remain venerated. Jude became known as the patron saint of lost or desperate causes, a symbol of hope, endurance, and faith in times of despair.
Simon the Zealot, sometimes referred to as Simon the Canaanite in older translations, was one of the 12 apostles chosen by Jesus. His title, Zealot, is thought to signify either his earlier association with the Zealot movement, a group devoted to resisting Roman occupation, or simply his fervent devotion to the Jewish faith before following Christ. The Gospels offer little detail about Simon's role during Jesus' ministry, apart from his inclusion among the 12. His journey from nationalist zeal to spiritual devotion illustrates the transformation of early followers who redirected their passion toward spreading the kingdom of God. After Pentecost, Simon embarked on missionary work beyond Judea. Early traditions vary regarding his travels. Some claim he preached in Egypt, Cyrene, modern Libya, and even Britain, while others place him in Mesopotamia and Persia. The most enduring accounts hold that Simon joined Jude Thaddeus in evangelizing in Persia, where they established Christian communities. Their growing influence, however, provoked opposition from local authorities and religious leaders. According to tradition, both apostles were executed around 65 AD for refusing to renounce their faith. Accounts differ on Simon's death. Some say he was crucified, others that he was sawn in half. Simon's life represents the redirection of human zeal toward divine mission, his name enduring as a symbol of steadfast faith and unwavering conviction in the face of persecution. Judas Iscariot remains one of the most infamous figures in biblical history. He was one of the 12 apostles personally chosen by Jesus and served as the group's treasurer, responsible for managing their shared funds. Despite witnessing Christ's teachings and miracles firsthand, Judas's motivations grew increasingly conflicted. The Gospels describe him as dishonest and driven by greed, occasionally stealing from the common purse. According to the New Testament, Judas betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, agreeing with the chief priests to identify him to the authorities. During the Last Supper, Jesus foretold the betrayal, saying, "One of you will betray me." Later that night, in the Garden of Gethsemane, Judas approached Jesus and identified him with a kiss, a gesture that led to his arrest and crucifixion. Overcome with remorse after realizing the gravity of his actions, Judas attempted to return the payment to the temple authorities. When they refused it, he threw the silver coins into the temple and left. The Gospel of Matthew records that he hanged himself soon afterward. The Book of Acts presents a slightly different account, stating that he fell in a field he had purchased with the blood money and died violently there. Judas's name has since become synonymous with treachery and betrayal, a tragic reminder of how proximity to truth does not guarantee faithfulness.